Former chairman of the House Oversight Committee, Fox News contributor Jason Chaffetz, Fox News contributor, investigative reporter Sara, Fox News legal analyst Greg Jarrett is here. Sara, we got to start with your story. These new text messages, collusion, delusion, new documents show Obama officials and the FBI coordinated in the anti-Trump probe. Now, this is only 3,000 of 50,000 we expect text messages to eventually come out between the FBI lovers, but more importantly, it's part of the 1.2 million documents that Goodlatte is demanding they turn over.
Well, these are 3,162 documents that they've had to peel apart for months, Sean. They have had the most difficult time, the congressional committees investigating this, because the DOJ and the FBI have not been forthright with the information. I think this information is explosive. Why? Because it shows that even when Brennan briefed Terry Reid, went to meet with him in the Gang of Eight, that was in August 2016, that early that month, at the beginning of August, we know that Jonathan Moffa, who was working with the counterintelligence division of the FBI, working alongside Peter Strzok and was probably Peter Strzok's supervisor, according to my sources, actually went to the White House to have a meeting with Dennis McDonough, who was the chief of staff for President Obama. And what's so fascinating about that is that he entered the White House early in the morning that August, goes into the White House with 3 other people who are not named on the White House logs, and then doesn't check out until like 11:59 that night. So we don't even know what time he left. But he meets with Dennis McDonough, and it is apparently about this, the Russia investigation. And that puts him just 1 degree of separation from the president, because Dennis McDonough is his chief of staff. So President Obama was very well aware, according to the sources that I've spoken with, at least they believe he was very well aware of what was going on in the beginnings of this investigation.
All right, let's go to you, Greg Jarrett. I mean, 2 points here. The FBI stonewalling on the documents, but more importantly, remember Susan Rice, the January 11th memo, which January 11th meeting, Comey is in it, and then Barack Obama said, follow the law, do it the right way, the CYA. When you put all of this together, there was far more involvement with the White House of Barack Obama in all of this than anybody knew.
Oh, absolutely. To believe that the president didn't know that there was an investigation of Donald Trump, candidate for president, is to believe in the tooth fairy.
I don't believe it. Does that make him a witness? Potential witness?
Absolutely it makes him a witness.
And he should be subpoenaed, no?
He should be. Here's the problem with all the subpoenas for the Department of Justice and the FBI. You know, they should have been thrown in the hoosegow in contempt already, because they've been stonewalling for the longest period of time. And Jeff Sessions finally awakened from his slumber and told Christopher Wray, accelerate the handing over of the documents. But the problem is, we're trusting the FBI and the Department of Justice to hand over documents that are responsive to the subpoenas.
Wait a minute. Rod Rosenstein didn't want to turn over the 3,000 that we have that led to the Nunes memo, that led to the Grassley-Graham memo, that led to America knowing about FISA abuses, which Sara broke in March of last year.
That's right.
March 8th of 2017.
This is why there should be a special counsel. There ought to be a grand jury and not subpoenas issued, a warrant to go in and seize these documents. Don't let the DOJ and the FBI decide which ones they want to turn over. They're going to hide the incriminating documents or redact material information. Get a warrant, seize them, bring in federal marshals. Don't let the FBI be involved in policing themselves.
It's impossible. Congressman Chaffetz, you have experience in this. I am looking at the process, and I know the wheels of justice grind ever so slowly here. But when you put all of this together, Hillary fixes a primary. Comey, Strzok, Page, McCabe, Lynch, and others seem to put the fix in and rig the investigation into her email server, which we know she committed felonies. It's irrefutable at this point, and in the evidence incontrovertible. Then she pays for a phony Russian dossier that a foreign national puts together. The FBI doesn't verify it. It turns out to be false. They present it to a FISA court judge, and they omit the key part of the information, which is she paid for it, and they never verified it. And it's like pulling teeth to get truth out of the Department of Justice and the FBI. How do we get this information? How do we get the 1.2 million documents? And more importantly, how do we get the special counsel to investigate all of this garbage and all of this corruption?
July of 2016, Director Comey declared that this was a closed case. There was no excuse to hide these documents. The Oversight Committee asked for those documents. They refused to give them. I issued a subpoena as the chairman of the Oversight Committee in September of 2016. That's how far back this goes. Move forward to August of 2017. Devin Nunes is fed up. He issues a subpoena. Now move forward to 2018. Chairman Goodlatte is issuing a subpoena, and still those documents aren't there. They had to yank the
when did they
Attorney
first
General
ask for this
and the
information?
FBI director. Well, I asked for it in July of 2016, and I issued a subpoena for this very information.
How do they get to ignore a subpoena? How does
2016.
Hillary get to delete subpoenaed emails and acid wash them? How do people get away with things that I guarantee Greg Jarrett couldn't keep me out of jail for?
If you look at what the Attorney General and the Department of Justice put out, they said they're going to review this request. A subpoena is not a request, Sean. If you were issued a subpoena and said, hey, I'll take that under consideration, and you didn't comply, you'd go to jail. Everybody who's watching this program would go to jail. Well,
right.
Yeah. What if you use that?
What if I acid wash my hard drive with bleach bit?
That's why you got to have a special prosecutor who will go in there with tenacity and investigate these people. The only way that Congress can actually enforce a subpoena is through the Department of Justice. There is no avenue to get directly to a court.
I'm happy that the Inspector General is now going to, investigate FISA abuses and dossier abuse, and we have been covering this forever. The Inspector General, does that mean we have to wait another 4 months for the Inspector General report on the email server investigation, or will that be released separately and apart?
Oh, are you asking me, Sean?
Yes, Sarah.
Because I think that's going to come out I think it's going to come out much sooner than 4
I
months.
hear it's been delayed another month now.
It has been delayed another month, but what we have to realize is that within the Department of Justice right now, there's multiple ongoing investigations into the FISA abuse, into Andrew McCabe. I also believe into former FBI Director James Comey himself, who now has a book coming out and he's going on this tour. So that's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. There's a lot of information here that needs to be investigated. I absolutely agree with the other guests here on the show, with Greg and Jason, that we need a special counsel to do this investigation. They really need to be able to have somebody who can have the subpoena power to get the information that they need from the FBI and from the DOJ. There's no other way around it. Look, we built a special counsel investigation into a president based on a guy at a bar, George Papadopoulos, and an unverified dossier. And they've been going after this president now for more than a year. There is enough sufficient evidence here to open up a secondary special counsel. I mean, it's overwhelming evidence that there was something going on here between officials at the FBI and DOJ.
Let me go to
there is
Greg
no
Jarrett.
doubt in my mind.
3 of the 6 people who were in on deceiving the court, concealing evidence, and breaking 6 felony statutes are not subject to the authority and jurisdiction of the independent counsel. He cannot compel James Comey or Andrew McCabe or Sally Yates, who are no longer government employees. That a special counsel can. And with respect to these documents, if it were you or me, they'd be knocking on our office or home door, and they would break in if we didn't answer, and armed with a warrant, they would seize the documents. You have to have a warrant. You have to seize them.
Rod Rosenstein forget about 1.2 million documents, Congressman. He didn't want to hand over 3,000. And it was subpoenaed, and in the last hours, he's on bended knee begging Paul Ryan, pretty please don't force us to do this, which is, we wouldn't have learned about a lot of it. He appointed the special counsel, Rosenstein, and it appears that he signed off on one of the FISA renewals. Isn't that a conflict of interest?
It does beg the question. Remember the 4-page memo that Devin Nunes and Trey Gowdy put out the door, and all the flailing by Adam Schiff, and then you have Rod Rosenstein begging with the Speaker of the House not to release it, that the whole world and the attack on the intelligence community and on the FBI, and we look at that memo now and think, really, that's what you went to bat for? I mean, this is the same FBI that went after college basketball players, for goodness sake. Why
That's
can't
such a
they
good
go
point.
actually expose the truth?
All right. Thank you all for being with us. We have two